What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I am the one and only Hypertension, joined by the fantastic Mr. Alk Battery here. We are here for the start of the Risen Champions League season as part of the Scouting Ground Circuit. How are you doing, my friend Alk Battery?
Dude, I'm doing awesome. I haven't cast with you, I think ever. And so, this is a super momentous first occasion.
Before?
I think maybe. It has to be once, but it has to be so long ago. And
it's been at least 6 months.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried. Rafa did have to step down kind of last minute, and he's safe and whatever, but I just wanted to make sure, okay, well, who's going to be coming up next? And Joe let me know that Hyper was going to be stepping up, and I was incredibly excited to kind of come on versus Supernova, Dark Matter versus Radiance, so, woo!
Yes, absolutely. We do have a heck of a slugfest here between two. I can't quite say heavyweights based on how they've done so far this season.
They're welterweights.
They've had a little bit of a rough time. I would say middleweights though.
Okay, yeah.
Middleweight seems like a very fair, appropriate assessment, as already off the board are the Trundle, Yumi, Set, Syndra, Varus, and Ornn, as the Graves looks to be the first lock-in for Radiance, something that Avi actually picked earlier this week in the UPL.
Yeah, I mean, Graves has just been really, really nice, gives them a lot of great scaling as they go later into the game, and allows for a lot of free agency, especially for someone like Avi, who we've noted before is just, this is kind of the key factor that we want coming out of this team. We want that the jungler, really the lanes aren't looking super impressive, except maybe for Engo on this roster, and so we're looking at Avi to be that key playmaker, or to be the player that is played around the most. So really glad to see Graves, and on the opposite side, look like Supernova are going to be picking up Senna, which we've actually been seeing a lot of itemization into Grasp and Frozen Mallets. So I'm interested to see, with Set gone, what Supernova Dark Matter are going to be picking
I
up.
actually have not been able to see the Frozen Mallet build in action. For me, it's kind of like a myth. I've only ever heard about it. I've never been able to see it, because everyone bans Senna in the games that I've actually been like, you know, paying attention to in casting. I've never been able to really see the Frozen Mallet build in action, and I'm excited if they are going to do it. But looking at the Ziggs, the question is, will I go into the mid or bot lane? I've seen a lot of both over the past couple weeks.
Yeah, for sure. Ziggs, obviously, and a bunch of more mages, right, have always been, for the past few months, if not a year, have been kind of making their way into the bot lane. And specifically for Radiance, I think that this is something that we typically see from them coming into bot, but Callista coming up pretty free.
Okay.
Yeah, that was one of the other things I wanted to, like, kind of know was Callista's free, Andy Bendy is here. Like, this is the champion that last week versus 100 Thieves that kind of put Radiance in a spot where they were completely ripping apart the bot lane and making sure that, hey, like, this is still not a bot lane that you want to kind of push over to the side. Because Andy Bendy on Ziggs has not looked fantastic, but on Callista so far has been kind of a massive powerhouse.
So yeah, one thing to know, guys, if you've never seen Callista Thresh, it is one of the safest bot lanes in all of League of Legends. It is like, it's just a spectral never die because you're already dead, or I guess you're already undead and you will not die again bot lane. Like, there is the Fate's Call and there is the Lantern, so that way they can save each other. It also has a lot of CC, a lot of synergy in the laning phase. And for Senatom Kench, a lane that really wants to walk up and then farm, that's a little bit of a bad matchup in favor of Radiance.
Yeah, Tom Kench is going to have a pretty hard time walking up into this lane, so I'm glad to see that we see the Thresh. I don't know if the Thresh Callista combo is super safe in Legend of Runeterra, but I have to agree, it does a lot of damage here.
People still play that?
You know, some people do, some people don't, me being one of them, but I mean, I'm more interested to see like where this topside matchup, because if we have Senna Tom Kench, I'm expecting for them to just kind of just give up all of bot lane priority. So you're looking to try to play around your top side, and when we think of Radiance, we think of Engo being this carry top laner who has to isn't necessarily played around all that much, and seeing that his Nard's already been taken away, I'm a little bit worried to see what comes out of them, and especially going up against Dark Matter where you have Fire Theft on the opposite side. This is a guy who, you know, typically does tend to play a little bit more of the carry oriented, so I wouldn't be surprised to actually see Jace be one of those champions.
And this is one of those situations where I honestly think that Engo is actually the more gifted carry top laner, but he hasn't been utilized in that role on the side of Radiance as of yet. They've been funneling all of their resources into the mid and bottom lanes, which I think at the same time, I think you could run kind of like that 3 carry style and put it to work if you pick the right champions. I get this Maokai, I really do, and I think he is a strong enough champion at the moment. But I still would prefer Engo be on something that can actually bully the Poppy and take over the laning phase. Instead, you have this frontline tank who's basically going to be a CC bot coming the late game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so like you were saying, the Maokai still is a great pick. I obviously, I think we're going to be probably moving into the series, considering we're already seeing Poppy and Maokai so early on into game 1. I think that we're more than likely going to just be seeing bot lane versus jungle. Mid lane between these two teams has never been, you know, a spectacular. It's as close to Azir Corki as we're going to get in a lot of cases. We're already seeing it kind of come out with a Corki. But taking a look at bot lanes, it would appear to me at least that they're going to be looking to try and play bot and jungle, and specifically bot side of the map is going to be incredibly impactful for how the series comes down. And man, oh man, I'm sure a lot of people tuned in for week 1.
I mean, Dark Matter, please. No,
There we go.
I was trying to argue my case saying, fight the meme, fight the power, and don't give in to the Azir Corki. But they did. The Emperor and the Bomber, once again in the middle lane. Guys, do you remember that meta from 2018? Pepperidge Farm remembers, he didn't like it either.
Yeah, it's just really I mean, to be fair, most of Dark Matter's team is quite at least boring to watch. I'd say more like the team fights are going to be kind of spectacular to see. This is also under the premise that this team is not going to get behind, because between the two teams, I'm actually really afraid if Dark Matter are not able to find their footing early on into the game. Radiance have really great engage, and that's where I'm thinking Dark Matter is going to be lacking. They're kind of looking for picks individually, making sure that if one person steps out of line, you can punish. But, I mean, you just sit Maokai in front of Azir and Poppy and Kindred, and realistically, there should be nothing that they can do.
So my issue with the side of Dark Matter is that their composition has very inconsistent spiking times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you think about the Senna Tahm Kench, they kind of want to wait for that mid game and then pop off there. They're actually fairly weak in the early game because you're not farming with the Senna, whereas you're going melee range with Tahm Kench into a Kalista Thresh, who are going to absolutely destroy that lane.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a Kalista that went, looking at it, it was 13, 2, and 6 into 100.
They were diving under turrets. They were playing in between a tail between two turrets. It was impressive to watch, but it was it kind of felt like, okay, we get it. Your Kalista's insane. This champion needs to be on permanent ban. And I thought it was actually really interesting that we kind of got dropped and that Yuumi was one of the bans from coming out from Radiance.
Yeah, I didn't expect Radiance to ban the Yuumi, so to speak, just because it's one of those, it only synergizes with a few picks in the moment, thank God. But again, I think Radiance Comms has a much better mid-game power spike where everything really builds towards that mid-game and you have a really big boom there in not only your comedy but your damage. Supernova's a little bit all over the place.
Yeah. I'm interested to see because obviously we have Kindred and Graves. I think coming out of the jungle swinging early on is going to be really impactful for both of these teams. I think on one item we should have by that time, about around 15 minutes, we should be able to tell where each team is in terms of power. And I'm looking at this Radiance roster. Obviously, on paper, a lot of people coming into this match are going to say that Radiance is going to be the team to watch to try to win this game. But both of these teams, to be fair, have been rather inconsistent. And we were talking before the game that Supernova, Dark Matter, they have a much harder group in Big. While you take a look over in Upsurge, and Radiance has a similarly kind of power stat of okay, well, there's a bunch of other teams that are really strong in our group, but this is a team where both thieves are kind of coming in a little bit inconsistent. So I'm even with Senna Tahm Kench gonna get bullied early on, I think Radiance have again the pressure to perform.
Yeah. So one thing I would say, you talked about like the history. Let's just take a moment to like cover that for a moment, because like if we look back over into, and again we're using this for like contextual thing. We're using this for like contextual data on like how these teams were formed. If you look at 100 Thieves Inferno group, it's widely considered to be like probably the weakest group in say in the UPL, because there's that 100 Thieves at the top, and then Radiance, and then Frostfire and Slaughterhouse below that. Whereas then you have Dark Matter, who's in there with Anu and Maryville, both of whom are among the favorites to win the whole scouting ground circuit. But in Big League, Radiance is running into the likes of Charlotte Phoenix, Maryville, and Conviction, whereas Dark Matter's wins are over Team Fish Taco and Full Spectrum. So it's like they each have some quality wins, but at the same time, it's the consistency just isn't there, just like you said.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried, obviously, for both these teams. Like, on paper, we made this joke earlier that on paper this should be like a relatively like close matchup, but apparently for both of these teams, the paper doesn't matter, and we're going completely off script. So, I mean, we both have double farming junglers here who scale really well into the later games. We have a mid lane matchup that's going to again scale. We have top lane tanks, which is something again we weren't expecting to see from the both of them, where they're both carry players. Poppy is definitely something that's in Fire Theft's wheelhouse. So
yeah,
I'm again worried that Andy Bendy is going to have a massive lead on Kalista again, and I think this should be an interesting kind of take of temperature for both the teams as to where they are at.
I also just thought about something.
What's up?
And I'm not sure what the interaction is. Maybe you can answer me this question. Is the Twisted Advance blocked by the Steadfast Presence?
I would think no, because he's untargetable.
But that's the thing, is I'm not sure whether or not that wall counts as a untargetable. Let me look up Maokai's Twisted Advance to see what
I'm
the coding
assuming
is
because
for.
he's untargetable, you can't. It's the same thing with like Flash, right? Where you become momentarily. It's a blink, but so my understanding would be that Poppy would actually block the W or block the twisted advance, even though he's untargetable. I mean, either way, I think Poppy having to be the front line for this team alongside Tom Kench is going to be really difficult, and Maokai is going to be a growing issue, especially for someone like Senna, which is why we saw things potentially like Ziggs being hovered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, currently I'm looking up to see like how the Poppy Maokai interaction works, because again, and that could absolutely influence the lane. If that steadfast presence does block the twisted advance, that removes all kill pressure from the top lane.
Oh, for sure. But I'm really scared of a lane
Okay.
when Maokai has kill pressure on me.
I do have a conclusive answer.
Okay, what is it?
Okay, steadfast presence does not stop dashes if the target is crowd control immune, unstoppable, protected by a spell shield, or untargetable. So twisted advance does go through the steadfast presence. That does make this lane a little bit better for the Maokai, honestly.
Yeah, and I mean that's just a piling list of negatives here for the Dark Matter team composition, right? Like you don't have a Poppy that realistically blocks the Maokai, but I'm interested to see. So we're probably not going to be seeing the Grasp of the Undying Frozen Heart or Frozen Mallet, just because it is Senna with Glacial Augment. And to be fair, it is a relatively low damage build thanks to it being Senna already, and building Frozen Mallet, you do survive a lot longer and you find a lot more utility. And I think the Grasp build would definitely be a lot more interesting and probably work a lot better when you have those 3 carry setups like we were talking about.
All right, and ladies and gentlemen, with that, we're going to actually take just a few minutes, or just a few moments, and we're going to go into a quick break. We'll be right back with Game 1 between Radiance and Supernova Dark Matter.
Take a moment right here, feeling like it's out gear. Driving towards the sun with a rose and a gun. Feel the wind in my hair, going nowhere I swear. Like an outlaw on the run, dangerous but it's so fun. Running, running, no. Hold on, don't let go. Running, running, no. Keep running. Told my boss that I'm done.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is the Energizer Bunny duo of the one and only Hypertension and the amazing Off Battery. We are here for the Risen Champions League. It is week 1 as part of the Scouting Grounds circuit, ladies and gentlemen. We have Radiance on the blue side, and we have Supernova Dark Matter on the red.
Yeah, seems like I'm going to be seeing just an early invade. I'm pretty sure this is just going to be for establishing vision. They just want to make sure tracking Kindred's actually incredibly difficult, only because the random mark setup is kind of sets her up to be a little bit more dice rolly. But even with 4 stacks, I think Kindred actually operates in a really interesting manner where you're trying to prevent, obviously with the Lamb's Respite, you're obviously trying to prevent death, but Kindred shouldn't actually do all that much damage into this team. I mean, Maokai makes her kind of irrelevant, and champions like Callista and Corki make it really difficult for Kindred to operate in a team fight. So yeah. I think we'll probably see a different flavor to this champion than we typically would.
Fair enough. And you talked about the RNG of Kindred. At least it is helpful and trackable RNG. It's not like completely random crap that we don't need in the game. Zoe on release.
What do you mean? Senna has 22% chance to get a soul on minions she doesn't kill.
Yes, but again, that's low and controllable percent.
Okay, all right. I mean, getting a redemption three lanes in a row feels pretty not fair.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Zoe on release.
Yeah, true.
And it was unbalanced RNG. We're agreeing here in an aggressive manner, just like how Fire Theft is aggressing onto Engo here, chunking it for about 60% of his HP.
Yeah, speaking about players, interestingly enough, Radiance have actually decided to make a sub into their support role here, and they have Cow, who originally was Eclipse, or as Hyper knows, as Ashe. Played on Team Liquid Academy this past spring split, and also was able on Clutch Gaming Academy as well as Optics. So interesting to see what he'll bring. I'll hold that St. Daniel.
Yeah, St. Daniel taking down. Ignite is going, but he probably will not. He should be able to back off. They don't really have the lane pressure yet to get under that tower.
Yeah, that's just exactly what we want to see from this Callista Thresh lane, right? You were talking about how much damage this puts out, and I mean, Senna's a real nice champion and all, but that healing doesn't do jack early on into the game. So this is about what we expect from them. I'm honestly I want to come back at about 10 to 15 minutes and see how many plates we actually see gone from this bot turret, because I think that will kind of give us a good read as to where Radiance are in power.
Yeah, that's a very good measure of the tape at that point in the game. But now looking at it, the real thing that's going on is the top lane fights are continuing. Engo is ticking down. Both junglers are going up, but Zyle is a little bit late to the party. Avi beats him to the punch. Fire Theft is doing more damage though. Flash out from both top laners and from Avi. First blood going over to Engo. Zyle picks him up on the back end though. Now it's just going to be jungler combat. Will that Graves be able to do it? That's the end of the line. Not landing quite yet. One more auto attack will do either one. And the smoke screen gets the kill for Avi as he sees 2 teleports. He's trying to run, but I don't know how far you can quite run. Spear Axe gets the kill. Engo teleports right into the middle of 2. Spear Axe gets chunked, but overall, it is a 2 for 2, even across the board. But first blood to Radiance.
Yeah, great job from them. They're able to kind of slow that game, or slow that fight down really well. I was actually really interested to see how that fight would go, considering we actually do see Avi on the Spirit, or the Phase Rush Graves here. But, I mean, most importantly, the double TPs that come out from the solo lanes net them not only 2 kills on the backside there, but Spirax gets double buffs, which is really nice. Hopefully it won't influence the lane all that much early on, as he kind of has to go back to lane, pick up the waves, and he wastes a lot of it in transition. Well, that is Spider Queen potentially going to get caught out here.
Here we go. St. Daniel's actually going to be the sacrificial lamb. Flayed, hooked, and cooked just the catfish as the response comes top lane and goes in trouble again. They're bringing fire to cut down this tree, and Zyle picks up the kill.
You know, it was the wrong animal this time. I thought it was going to be the Spider Queen, ends up being the catfish, sadly. Or sorry, he's the catfish, right? Just want to make sure.
No, you know, he's a demon in the form of like an anthropomorphic catfish.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because you know there's the unbench the Kench, unload the Toad, but I know, especially you're really big on making sure things are correct when you're, you know.
For those of you that do not know, I am the resident lore expert among shoutcasters.
There you go. I mean, you've got the massive tier lists. Did you actually see the height list that got posted? Were you?
It was mostly incorrect.
Yeah, I know. I saw the response from Rioters. I actually am really interested. I really want them to post the actual heights for some of these champions, because apparently Tilly is taller than like 6 feet. That's
That one I did not know. I didn't know that Pantheon is actually 5'9".
Oh, short king.
Yeah, no, well, he's short, but at the same time, his build, he's actually like I made a comparison to like a UFC light heavyweight fighter.
Yeah, the man's
Frank Shamrock. If for those of you that know who he is, probably one of the best fighters in UFC history. But yeah, it's interesting to see like how many these champions are. Like Maokai's like 20 feet tall because he's a tree.
For sure. Yeah, I mean he's a living tree.
And right now he is standing tall, planting his roots and trying to plant Fire Theft into the ground. But again, he's Fire Theft. He's got what it takes to burn down a tree.
Yeah, hopefully. Early ward coming out from Engo. It should also be a Mountain Drake going over, which is really nice for this blue team. Potentially another king.
Yeah, Xylus up here again. That is going to be the keeper's verdict, knocking him up, but is it going to be enough in time? Engo, one more proc will do it. He actually gets the perfect timing there, but he hits the Bramble Smash in the wrong way. Instead, Fire Theft and Xyle pick him up for a third time.
Yeah, another kill. Thankfully, here for Radiance is that it's way too early before the Rift Herald will spawn. You still got about a minute until that comes up, so I don't know how much they're going to get from this. And while giving Fire Theft a lot of resources is absolutely beautiful, when on the opposite side, obviously, Andy Bendy is getting a lot when it comes to gold. Getting this Poppy off the ground running is really nice, and I'd be interested to see if, kind of Supernova Dark Matter here are able to actually transition Fire Theft into a much more powerful position, because otherwise, we're kind of just feeding a tank some kills. And I mean, Xyle's picking up a lot of this gold and a lot of the kills, so Kindred getting off to a really great start compared to Graze is always really nice to see.
Yeah, and that's one thing you kind of have to do, because again, the mid-game power spike from Radiance's composition, like we mentioned in the draft, is so powerful and so cohesive as a unit that you need to have as much advantage as you can going into that point in the game if you're going to survive it.
Yeah, and taking a look at Dragons, right, we have the Infernal Drake coming up, and I'm actually kind of scared to see if Ocean Soul comes out, because if we do see an Ocean Soul, I think that is a massive lose condition here for the side of Supernova. If that Ocean Soul does go over, I mean, in theory, if we do get it, right, it is critical that Supernova Dark Matter actually take that away from Radiance. If it is something like Cloud Soul, obviously both teams can utilize it. There's not too many champions, I think, on their team that would utilize it to maximum efficiency.
You said on which side? I'm sorry, I didn't...
For both, right? The Cloud Soul for both of these teams, obviously.
I will actually disagree with that. I think Cloud Soul, in particular, just because of like the triple stack Cloud Drake that you would get, or the double stack Cloud Drake, the ultimate stacks as Xyle picks up that Rift Herald. I think that, look at these ultimates. There's so many powerful ultimates in this game that it will be absolutely huge to get those Cloud Drakes here. Like, you do have the Fate's
Yeah,
Call. You have that Rocket, which will be on just that little bit shorter cooldown. And I would say collateral damage and the Nature's Grasp. Whereas on the other side, Keeper's Verdict, Lamb's Respite, Shurima, I would say Emperor's Divide there as he almost Shurima shuffled, and the Dawning Shadow. That's so many powerful team fight ultimates that can just be on that little bit shorter cooldown.
For sure, the ultimate cooldown that you get from it is actually really impactful. I'm mostly just talking about the movement speed that you would get from the Soul is like not amazing, as we actually see Fire Theft doing a pretty fantastic job at holding two members here. Surprisingly enough, we take a look. I mean, we're only about 10 minutes, and I'm a little bit early on my marks here, but only about 2 plates. I'll hold that though, as we see a potential gank and on both opposite ends here. Looks like
gonna dive into the bottom lane possibly. Here it comes, because the Azir is down there too. So that's gonna be 4 people in the bottom lane, whereas the dive top lane goes off. Fire Theft dies first, but it's a 2-for-1 across the map in favor of Radiance. So they're actually in the lead in terms of this push here. But the thing is, the Kindred died, so that's your highest attack speed member just gone.
Yeah, not only that, but that's also you've pulled now your mid lane over. Spyrix with no TP just means 1 free plate goes over to Corki, who's able to put massive damage onto this mid turret. They're able to get 3 for themselves up on top, and while that gold is split, I think they were waiting to kill Engo and then drop that Rift Herald to put down a lot of damage. And like you were saying, your highest attack speed member is gone, and I mean, Seven and Tom can do some damage, but definitely not to structures. That piercing darkness it only does so much.
Well, the worst part about that situation is that Engo is actually in the gold lead now. Sure. He has a 350 gold lead over Xyle because of that botched dive by the side of Supernova Dark Matter.
I mean, now they drop the Rift Herald, and this does mean it's a little bit of an awkward transition here from Radiance, as now they're able to finally pick up this wave that's coming into them. Spider Queen more than likely just gonna hit a back here as he has 1400 gold, finish his Umbral. just to be fair, Umbral Glaive is really overpowered. I know that when you take a look at gold efficiency, a lot of the lethality items actually have around 80% gold efficiency. Obviously, 75% here for Yomu's, and you take a look at other gold efficiencies. But like, dealing 3 damage to wards is absolutely massive, especially for champions who don't have a lot of attack speed. Things like Varus, if you're going for the poke build, and things like Senna, who have locked attack speeds. It is so insane how much invisible power is kind of stuffed into these lethality items.
Yeah, it really is. And when you think about that, that also allows them to assign better vision control. Because remember, it reveals the wards and traps first.
Yeah.
So it's like it gives you inherent vision control here.
Here we go again.
Inherent advantage once again. But hey, they jumped the gun there. Xyle is still gonna pick him up, but Fire Theft taking enough damage? Not quite. He will not die from the tower, and they're gonna get some top lane plates as a consolation.
Oh, and it's the Ocean Soul. Thankfully, they're able to get that, and the wave does mean it's going to come in. I don't think they're going to push this, however. Okay, so they're going to go for it. They know that Avi is bot side after that dragon, so they're going to immediately try to force for tier 1s on opposite sides of the map. I think this is a kind of a desperate play. We're starting to get into more desperate territories here for Supernova Dark Matter. It's only about 12 minutes, but it feels like every time they take a step forward, Radiance is already on the opposite end, making what seems to be at least somewhat of a better play.
Yeah, and I would say it's about equal here. Neither of them did get off that push. Supernova Dark Matter had actually already secured first break in the bottom lane before that. So it is a trade basically of bottom lane towers across. And now the top lane is same, but the kills are gonna be there. St. Daniel gonna be taken low. The Ren stacks are stacking. He's gonna pop the stopwatch, and it's still not gonna be enough because there's the red procs. Avi picks up the kill, absolutely needed for the Radiance jungler.
Yeah, and St. Daniel cannot be getting caught out there, right? Like, actually hold that as Engo. Potentially on the opposite side.
Yeah, he's got 2 marksmen in his face, but they are a lot squishier than he is, and he has the sustain, but he doesn't have the damage to take on both of them. Xyle picks up his 5th kill of the game.
Yeah, great job from the side of the Dark Matter squad, but again, what are they getting for this, right? They actually have to now end up backing off of that, and I mean, realistically, what I want to see is actually Spyrax and I mean, Young Mid is doing a fantastic job here of just completely neutralizing this lane and saying, you know, that's fine. Like, yeah, I have the package, but I'm not necessarily needed for roams right now as he's getting so much damage into mid lane. With Rift Herald coming up and how we've seen the map kind of be split topside in favor of Supernova, I actually want to see them now start to break open this mid turret because they put so many resources into trying to break this top turret. I think it just, at this point, you might just want to give in and go for something that's at least a little bit more positionally favored for your team.
Yeah, and one thing that is unfortunately happening, like, it's unfortunate if you're Engo, but if you're Radiance, you're actually enjoying this. He has all but 1 death on the team. It's the Dyrus effect right now. Like, it's that Dyrus effect of where you try and camp 1 person, but it doesn't matter because he's playing a tank, so it's not really it doesn't really affect the fact that his build is so cheap, and he doesn't need that much gold anyway. On top of that, or that much experience anyway, he's gonna get tanky. Really investing resources with diminishing returns.
For sure. I mean, he's already active on about 2 items, right, as a tank. I'll hold that now.
Here we go, Shurima Shuffle. Young Mid gonna be cut down by the combination of Xyle and Spyrax.
I mean, that's just got to be the caster curse there, right? We're just talking about how Young Mid is doing a great job of cutting this mid lane. And take a look at that. Now, like I said, after getting mid priority for themselves, now they're finally in a position to try and contest for the second Rift Herald. I'll hold that now as potentially both top laners. Engo does not have TP, so he has to interrupt Fire Theft, and it seems like they might try and go for a surprise kill here onto the bot lane.
So here we go, St. Daniel might be meeting his Saint right now because he's gonna be a dead man. Andy Bendy trying to go in, but instead the Fate's call, he's gonna throw Cal the other way.
Yeah, and while they are able to get the Rift Herald there, I think that this just means that they're going to sack yet another turret in topside here from the side of Supernova. So really great job from the side of Radiance, making sure that, hey, we can't necessarily get an objective on the opposite side. I mean, like you were saying, Engu, even if he's behind, he's playing Maokai at this point, and there's not that much damage coming out from this Dark Matter roster right now, so I think it's perfectly fine that he's behind, quote-unquote. I mean, even if you take a look at Gold, he's only down 200, even though he has 6 of those deaths, right? So yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Yeah, he's at 75% of the deaths, but he's still only down, like, Double-digit
tank player
gold.
thing. Just tank player things, you know? Like, it doesn't matter how far you put down the tank player. It's like, all right, well,
Again, it's the Dyrus effect. It's like, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what you're doing. It's like you're not really doing any significant damage to him. But now with Shelly, I'm sorry, that is actually the second Herald, so that's actually Harold the Herald, her little brother, popping down that mid lane tower, getting the damage in. Side of Supernova need to run before the entire Radiance side bears down on them.
yeah, and they have 40 seconds on this next dragon, so what I actually would prefer to them to do is do not invest vision right now. A lot of your members actually probably want to back. Actually, you take a look at gold, most of it is pretty even, but you want to make sure that you're kind of upped on wards right now, right? I mean, most of your vision is right now going to be cleared out, and investing right now so early is going to be really dangerous for them. Fire Theft still has TP. He's pushing on the side. You need to take a look at where Engo is.
Uh-oh, Zyle gets caught with the death sentence. That's a lot of damage into him. He is taking down. Avi beats him to the punch and beats him to the ground. Now it's going to be the damage on Spyrax, who sends Andy Vandy on a rampage. Fire Theft in the backline, but does he have the damage to provide? No, he does not. Spider Queen and St. Daniel both bite the dust at the hands of the Corki. Rockets all over the place, right into the face of Supernova Dark Matter, and they're getting hit over the head with a mace that is known as Young Mid. One more shot will do it, but he doesn't quite get it. Ango trying to chase him down, not going to be successful. 4 for none in favor of Radiance.
Yeah, great job for them. Not only able to get 4 kills, you know, Fire Theft, he gets a little close right there. Thankfully, he doesn't end up kind of taking over, but that was exactly the kind of fight that I was worried about here for the side of Dark Matter. Where were they going to try and find their angle? They need Spyrax to have that streamer shuffle, and when we take a look at this team, where do they find access or any purchase to try and attack Andy Bendy, right? Like, he just sits behind his tank, he sits behind Engo. Avi's more than willing to go forward. We see Young Mid when he's coming out of base with his package. It creates this team fight where Kalista's unanswered in a lot of this space, and now you need for Spyrax to not only have that flash, but for Shrima shuffle forward. And if you don't have Fire Theft there proactively and not on a TP coming in, it makes this fight incredibly difficult for them to at least exist. So not only do 4 members go down, we're getting at about 23-minute Ocean Soul here, which is absolutely devastating for this team.
I was just about to bring up the Ocean Soul combined with that 4,000 gold lead, and this is a Maokai. So Maokai, in addition to already having like a huge innate sustain, having that Ocean Soul will make him nigh unkillable in terms of extended fights, because he'll just regen so much from those 2 sources.
I mean, it's all because of that beautiful sap magic. That beautiful sap magic makes it's so difficult to face this champion. It's kind of ridiculous. And we take a look at damage. We're talking about Maokai. He's got himself a Mountain Drake, which actually called that as St. Daniel potentially getting caught out yet again.
Once again, a Saint has to be dead to be made one, and Daniel sure as heck is trying to make sure he becomes one today.
You know, his attempts at being canonized are looking pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely done it enough times, I think, at this point that I don't know if he's going to get another resurrection. But he's certainly, he's stacking up the what is it? The cannon stacks.
Huh?
The religious cannon stacks.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what cannon?
Not cannon. He doesn't have, thankfully, he doesn't have the minion dematerializer, but speaking of getting destroyed, I mean,
This
that's just
tower
for Radiance.
Yeah, but I mean, it is an Azir turret, so it's like...
Oh, I meant bot side. Tier 2 bot lane.
Oh, I didn't see that the
really
tier 2 bot had fallen as well, my bad.
Yeah, tier 2 had fallen right there, which is actually really key for how they want to kind of rotate around the map. If you are on the side of Radiance, it creates an incredibly long lane for them to now deal with a Baron coming up in 30 seconds. And talking about, you know, thankfully they do have Kindred here, and Spyrax is not too far behind his enemy counterpart, but Baron becomes an almost impossibility here for the side of Supernova Dark Matter. And if they want on the opposite side here, Radiance can just kind of sit in. They don't even actually have to complete Baron.
They don't, as here we go, another hook lane on the Spyrax, but I think Cal might have bitten off more than he could cue. But it does look like Fate's Call. Again, the never die spectral bottom lane. Now Fire Theft might have Avi right in his sights, right where he wants him. He does have the flash, but is he too late? He might be able to get out of dodge. It's gonna be the Dawning Shadow, and Supernova Dark Matter rout this fight, taking down 3 immediately. Young can only sit back and watch. Ango's in no danger, but at the same time, this should be exactly what they need to move over to the Baron Nashor.
Okay, what is this caster curse? Because I just said that Baron is more than likely not going to happen here, but I mean, finding 3 members, great pick from Fire Theft. Not only is he kind of playing around Vision, but making sure that he's in a great position to flank. Baron is going to go down, thankfully. Yet again, you know, Spyrex is in this great position that he's able to just shred this dragon alongside Zal, who's already picked up for himself the Blade of the Ruin King here. More than likely, he's going to be picking up the Black Cleaver here. It's become really difficult to deal with such, with 30% cooldown reduction is massive for someone like Kindred. So, really great job. And you know, when we were looking earlier, the fight that was looking great for Radiance is one where Andy Bendy is uncontested. And in this one, we see their backline just gets completely evaporated. And especially if Engo's not in that correct position, I mean, the Radiance comp goes bye-bye.
Yeah, and that all started from Avi getting caught out of position in that one side and using the quick draw instead of the flash to start off. Not waiting out the steadfast presence, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we're seeing so much, you know, the priority of Poppy in here, right? You have a lot of champions that have great dodges. I think Poppy into this team composition is great, but
yeah,
I still have some of my worries. As they are going to get kind of routed here, they don't have a lot of priority. Avi potentially in a really dangerous position.
Yeah, Avi is getting focused here. It does look like they're going to put down a lot of damage onto him. That's going to be collateral damage, taking him low, and it looks like the side of Radiance might have turned this around. St. Daniel going low, but it is Engo who dies first. Now Style on the chase. Here comes that Abyssal Voyage. St. Daniel, though, you just jumped into your death, my guy.
I mean, it was an Abyssal Voyage. He did go into the Fire Theft.
Fire Theft going deep, trying to steal the lives of the Radiance members, but Fate's Call once again saves the life of Cal. Spyrax goes low, Spyrax goes down, Andy Bendy gets out alive for now. Cal surviving due to the Lamb's Respite, but that still will be a 2-for-2, and nobody gets an advantage.
Yeah, like you were saying, it was looking like a great fight. Fire Theft needs to be really careful. Or sorry, the side of Radiance needs to be so careful. And go with a TP.
Here we go. Will there be a steal? Will be, and yes, there's actually a steal. Ocean Soul over to the side of the Radiance, and now Young is here trying to wear out Zyle, but the Dawning Shadow will be enough to take him down. Spider Queen in the middle of the fight gets cut down by Avi. Shotgun to the face as now Fire Theft trying to run. Zyle barely survives collateral damage. Andy Bendy come out of the wall. He does not have the ability to leap right now because he does not have flash, so overall, Ocean Soul and that extra kill over to the side of Radiance.
Yeah, and taking a look at extended fights, when we saw that mid lane fight, you were saying it to yourself, you know, Radiance looking really good. They could potentially turn this team fight, and starting that, it was really beautiful. Not only was the smoke screen coming out and blocking Zyle and Spyrex from interacting with that fight, he no longer had the Shrima shuffle, at least not the shuffle part of it, so he was not able to really get into a really aggressive position and set up, which is where this team kind of finds some of their footing. And as the fight goes longer and longer, we see Spider Queen and Spyrex, specifically even Zyle, start to stack up damage and rack it up against this team where Andy Bendy again does not have space to exist. We see them not yet quite taken down. We see a lot of their frontline members, and Young gets taken out so low that again he gets taken out of these fights, which is not what we've seen from this team. Radiance in their mid laner, I mean, Young has, to be fair, not really interacted in a lot of these fights. He's more likely been, hey, I'm going to put down packages to split the team, or I'm coming from base. So we are seeing a little bit of miscommunication coming out from this Radiant squad, and thank God that they're actually able to pick that up on the backside there and go with an amazing flank TP. And Avi just kind of comes out of that bot brush thanks to the Ocean Soul kind of changing up the map, and they don't see him. And I mean, that was a pretty, fantastic steal coming out right there, because that was about 80 HP.
So what actually happened there, and I don't know if you were like watching, but I actually got a replay in slow-mo via the stream, is that it was just a 1 auto too early smite from Zyle. He was worried about Engo, and now Fire Theft in a lot of trouble because the damage dealer of Radiance, Avi, is coming down. There are those dashes, Keeper's Verdict. Gonna save his life.
Interesting that they just completely give up that fight. I mean, there's nothing else that they can get on the map to be 100% fair. Thankfully, for the side of Radiance, there's a lot of kind of mini waves that are about to crash towards them, so they can start to pick up a lot more of that gold. And even with the gold has been staying around 2,000, which I think is really interesting considering what's been going on in the team fights.
Yeah, and in these team fights, it's really the story of who gets off the engage first, because it's whoever gets off the engage first onto those vital targets are the ones who's going to win. The main people you need to watch in those fights are Spyrax and Andy Bendy. Not to discount Young there, but still, if one of those two goes down, the other team immediately gets the team fight advantage.
For sure. I mean, those are the massive damage contributors, right? Like Graves, in theory, should be able to put out a lot of damage, but he doesn't. He's not quite there yet. He is going to be building the Death Dance on top of just having Ocean Soul. Means that this champion is going to be nigh unkillable at this point, and even some of the other members, we haven't seen too much of the kind of the support impact coming out from Saint Daniel. This Tom Kench has been kind of accident prone, I think is the word we'll use for right now.
He can't balance himself on the lily pad.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He does
catfish.
have a lot
He's
more
not a
minions.
toad.
He's got a lot of minions inside of him, so can't really. The lily pad.
He's a catfish. Catfish don't belong on lily pads. That's why he's falling.
There you go. I mean, I was gonna say I don't know I don't know any catfish myself that kind of do that, but take a look at itemization, right? Andy Bendy has a last whisper. Oh no, he's going Death Dance. Oh, okay. I mean, that's actually a really interesting itemization because it prevents him from dying, and it's something kind of similar to the Blade of the Ruin, or sorry, the Bloodthirster builds that we typically see, where it's so much lifesteal. Yeah. Actually, I'm really interested to see what exactly happens if we get to that point where that Death Dance is finished.
One thing I've actually seen a couple people build this Death Stance Callista, and I do actually prefer it myself over a Bloodthirster Callista if you are going for a full-on hit build here with the Ginsus and the Blade of the Rune King instead of building into a Infinity Edge like some Callistas do.
Those are the sinner ones. We don't build Infinity Edge on Callista out here.
Yeah, I know. Well, you know what I mean, like Rune Infinity Edge, those kind of things. Like when they build like the semi-crit build, you generally go with the Bloodthirster, but on hit build, I actually see a lot of the people build the Death Dance. Is now Fire Theft in a lot of trouble, locked down, and he's going to get impaled by Andy Bendy. That's the advantage they needed, and now they can rotate over to the Baron and set that up.
Yeah, it seems like the Death Dance is actually a two-step there for Fire Theft. He ends up going a little. He overextends. You remember, you don't have vision. You got to kind of pair up with your buddies. Now, you have to be incredibly careful if you're on the side of Dark Matter. You cannot afford to give up this Baron. They have an incredibly quick one, which they can just do between mid and jungle if they want. And they need to try to find an engage and specifically try to cut Ango out. But Spyrax is now in a really awkward position.
Let's see what's going to happen here. Zyle is in a good position, but so are the Reds. Here we go. That's it. But the waves just play. It's in. But the question is, will it be able to save Zyle? No, it will not. That's going to be the Baron pickup for the side of Radiance. Supernova Dark Matter are having to run for the hills. St. Daniel might end up the sacrificial lamb, but that's going to be the blast code actually blasting Andy Bendy over the wall into St. Daniel. Flash follow, and that's going to be the huge trend. Cutting that catfish to pieces like he's a freaking fried fillet. And now Spider Queen gets stopped on that underneath the tower. And that's going to be a total wipe there in favor of Radiance. Only Fire Theft survives.
Yeah, I don't actually agree with them going for Elder Drake. They should just be able to end. You have a Triforce using member on your team. You have Baron Wave that's about to come up. I think that taking Elder is just a little bit greedy and might actually extend this game a few minutes at least. Thankfully for the side of Radiance, they were able to find themselves an ace. They get a great Baron off there. And yet again, Spyrax is caught kind of tripping over his feet there in that fight. Fire Theft, I think, just trying to fight back, but...
Yeah, here's the fight. This is going to be a 3v3, but the damage is not there for Supernova Dark Matter. Once again, St. Daniel is just destroyed, his 7th death of the game. Now he has tied Ango, but he is so far behind, it's really not going to matter at this point. They have Elder, they have Baron, and that Corki has teleported, so it doesn't matter that he's back.
Yeah. I'm so confused as to why they would try to fight if you know, I mean, there's multiple members missing, kind of seems like a big question mark thing for me, but...
I mean, this just appears to be game. I'm not sure the Dark Matter really putting up a fight. That's going to be Fire Theft doing it. There's the Dragon Blast! As now Spider Queen, Zyle, and Spyrax can only watch as the crystal falls. Game 1 goes to Radiance.
Yeah, in pretty convincing fashion, right? About 10,000 gold towards the end of that game. I am not quite convinced. Obviously, I think letting Callista through is kind of huge, a pretty big question mark for me, as this champion is more than likely permanently banned, not only against other teams, but specifically against Radiance. And we did see a little bit of a different flavor with Maokai in the top lane. I think that this game was a lot closer than it probably should have been, considering the team composition that Supernova Dark Matter kind of gave themselves, where they didn't lend themselves any favors. The draft was, in my opinion, not amazing. It didn't really allow them to be proactive and potentially a way that Kindred wants to be. And even when we saw Kindred kind of have great fights, it wasn't necessarily off of the back of Kindred having massive gold, right? Like this champion has 12,000 gold at the end of the game, has the most gold out of any of your members. The bot lane was a massive liability here for the side of Dark Matter, and while Spyrex tried to do what he could, the team fights just didn't last long enough.
Yeah, and I feel like that's part of the problem with the current fasting Senna build is that you're always going into a melee bottom laner, but you didn't ban one of the most oppressive early game bottom laners. That is the specialty of the enemy AD carry. I feel like that's a little bit of it. I don't know if that's just an oversight.
It's either bad manners or massive oversight, which
I think it's like bad. I think it's either bad. It's either BM oversight or it's just like it was a plan that didn't work. Whichever one it is, it obviously didn't work. Whereas like there's 10 deaths for that bot lane combined to, you know, the almost 10 kills on Andy Bendy and the 17 assists on Cal. I feel like you really have to go back to the drawing board for game 2 in this bottom lane. The rest of the team actually did fairly well. But before we go any further, I've got a thing for you. Have you looked at the graphs yet? Don't do it if you haven't. All right, it appears my co-caster is gone, but those of you who can see on screen, the third most damage of the game actually went to the 7-death Maokai, who did God knows how much damage. I actually know Hyper knows how much damage. It is exactly 262, which was only 40 less than the Poppy, who was the highest DPS member of Supernova Dark Matter.
Why?
Oh, there he is. He's there.
Why? Sorry, I kind of got Fates called by Callista after it somehow made it through pick.
No. Malzakar hit you because you got silenced.
Ah, that's true. I got hit with the nether grasp. I got suppressed.
I was gonna let you see. I was so trying to let you get that on your own because Malzahar is my second best played champion.
Okay.
So I do know all those ability names.
Yeah, I mean that was just again, like you're saying, it was either BM that Callista somehow made it through, or I would doubt that Supernova like let that. They must have like thought that this would have been a fine matchup for them, but it kind of went sideways. And considering how they split the map, I think actually putting resources into Fire Theft is fine, but Poppy I don't think is the champion.
Yeah, and guys, with that, we're actually going to go to a short break here at Risen Esports. We will be right back with Game 2 between Radiance and Supernova Dark Matter in the Risen Champions League. We'll see you then.
Take a moment right here, feeling like it's out gear. Driving towards the sun with a rose and a gun. Feel the wind in my hair, going nowhere I swear. Like an outlaw on the run, dangerous but it's so fun. Running, no. Hold on, don't let go. Running, no. Keep running. Told my boss that I'm done. Had no luck with my mom. Say, what will you do with your life? You know it's hard to survive. A cigar in my mouth. Maybe guilty but proud. Now I'm an outlaw on the run. Dangerous but it's so fun. Running, running low. Hold on, don't let go. Running, running low. Keep running
up, ladies and gentlemen? Once again, it is the Energizer Bunny duo of the one and only Hypertension and the amazing Alt Battery here for the Risen Champions League Week 1. It is Radiance and Supernova Dark Matter. They have swapped sides, but we have not swapped out, ladies and gentlemen. Alt, how are you doing? And talk to me about this draft thus far.
I mean, I'm loving it so far. Callisto already on the ban phase. Interestingly enough, Syndra has kind of come through and is already being picked up for Supernova, so I'm wondering to see where that ends up kind of going. I'm assuming that's going to be in Spyrax. I don't think Spider Queen has put in too much work onto the Syndra, but Radiance yet again getting the Graves. You know, I asked Avi for a Lee Sin game. I mean, one can dream. One can dream. I would love to see him play Lee Sin again, but I think if you're Radiance, you're picking up another pretty strong solo laner here, if not your AD.
I'm trying to think if this will get the stream to take it out. Forget it. Dream on! Dream on!
Oh.
Dream until your dreams come true!
Oh, we're picking Ezreal. Wait, what? Wait, okay, look. I get it. Aphelios is been nerfed back to back to back. I think that this champion is about as much of a trap pick as a misfortune, but picking up Ezreal is really interesting considering you're kind of just dropping off a lot of that early game damage, or you're trading in that a lot of early game damage for 1 and 2 item power spikes. I think picking Syndra here for Supernova is probably a bad idea.
One thing about it though, I mean, Syndra is probably the most well-rounded mid lane. Obviously, I don't know if she's the best mid laner anymore. That's up for a lot of debate. But at the same time, she is one of the most well-rounded mid laners. And in the current state of the game, there aren't that many meta matchups that she actually does badly into. I mean, the go-to one that people think of is Echo. But then again, even that's more of a if two players are on equal skill with their respective champions, the Echo will win. If there's any sort of advantage for the Syndra, who's much easier champion to execute, she'll win.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's actually kind of a really awkward draft state that we kind of have here, and LeBlanc being hovered, but Supernova, you have Syndra, pick other lanes. Pick your support if you want here, pick, you can still pick Sejuani, I think, pretty relatively free considering you see Ezreal and Graves on the opposite side. I think it's really awkward that you're already going to kind of show your hand and show that Syndra is not going into bot lane potentially. Even though, yes, like I said, Spider Queen probably hasn't put in too much work onto this champion, but Radiance here picking up some pretty strong picks overall. You have a really great poke comp where Graves can now exist in a way where he's just allowed to farm. You have a lot of great wave priority coming in from mid lane. So interested to see what Radiance kind of gets rid of here. We saw Aurelia being one of the previous bans, and Cassiopeia was one of them, but I think with obviously mid being picked up so early, I think they might even pivot towards trying to get rid of
out in the game. We're not going to see any Cassiopeia top.
Sadly, no Umni, just Engo.
What do you mean sadly? I want to see some actual skilled top laners like.
What are you talking? Wait, okay, look. I'm not gonna let any Cassiopeia hate go down.
I got to see a Quinn the other day in UPL, so I'm spoiled now. But they do made away the Mount Guy. I think this is actually a really smart decision by Supernova Dark Matter. But also, I want to talk about this mid laner, because as a mid lane main, this is actually one of my favorite matchups as a Syndra. Because LeBlanc's entrance into her damage against you is based around her distortion, allowing her to close the gap and deliver that maximum amount of damage in the AoE and be able to use that replication ultimate. However, your scout of the week can just be saved in laning phase for denying the LeBlanc's laning pressure. You can actually take it at level 2 instead of taking the W.
If you take W, I think that's a grief. I think if you take W second on Syndra into LeBlanc, that's a massive grief.
Yeah, no, you take the Scout of the Week second here, and then that way you are protected for laning phase. The only way that you really lose that is if you are in the middle of getting ganked, or if you just absolutely botch it and fire it the wrong way by accident.
For sure. I think LeBlanc obviously wants to just kind of get out of this lane, right? Like she wants to find Aphelios. I don't think that I think that if she would have picked Kindred, it would have been even worse for Supernova here. But I mean, we're seeing a lot of topside focus now. So again, we were probably going to see, I would say Poppy is a really interesting pick here for the side of Radiance if they want to play it. But I mean, they already have Aatrox, and now we're taking a look at like supports. It seems really weird that they gave support counter pick here for Radiance. I think that this draft has been less than stellar yet again from these two teams, but Supernova picking up the Camille, which I think Camille has been really strong, at least for a little bit, and with the resurgence of things like Gangplank, and especially against Radiance who play things like Gnar, I'm not surprised that we're seeing Camille.
I think you're forgetting something about Radiance.
what am I? Oh, where's
They already
my
have
brain
Aatrox
going?
locked in.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying, right? Is that like into Camille, like you would think that Camille would have a lot more priority, especially with what kind of champions we're seeing in topside. You know, subtracting the tanks that we're seeing up there. But I've been kind of on the Camille hype train for a little bit, and I'm glad to see the Supernova are picking up. Now the real question is Fire Theft gonna have an impact in this game? Because I think he can blow up this early lane, but realistically, like we're probably going to see a lot of topside only because it's Sejuani and Camille.
So if I'm interested to see what Radiance would pick here, because this is really a wild card pick at the support role where you can really go with your comfort pick here. That being the Lulu, so this will mean that there will be a lot healthier lane for the Ezreal, who obviously does already have the Arcane Shift, but in addition now, he's going to have the Wild Growth to be able to protect him. You can send Aatrox in with both Wild Growth and with the World Ender, and then he's just going to be a menace on that front line.
Yeah, yet again, I think Radiance have done a really great job with setting up Avi to carry. You have Graves, who has great gank assist coming in from mid lane, who can help him roam into side lanes to make sure that they can try and get pressure either for objectives or to just kind of blow up either lane. And Lulu does really fantastically with this team, like you had already noted. Aatrox benefits greatly from getting Wild Growth. Ezreal, obviously, he wants to play as safe as possible. And even in this bot lane matchup, Thresh and Aphelios versus Ezreal Lulu, Ezreal makes Aphelios' life a living hell because you have no room to actually interact with the Ezreal as Aphelios. And realistically, you're looking at Gravitum being your only chance to really try and kind of lock down this Ezreal in any meaningful way. So I'm kind of scared for Supernova's bot lane. However, if there was an area for Radiance to kind of fall, Andy Benny has been kind of that coin flip player in a lot of these games where maybe his matchup is not amazing, but I think it's definitely winnable from certain positions, and he just kind of falls a little bit short when it comes to execution. So Supernova Dark Matter, they do have a much more interesting team, at least for playing through Fire Theft, which is where we want to see this team. And even the Aatrox with Graves, it's not fantastic.
Yeah, and Aatrox with Graves, again, as you said, it's not a very synergistic comp. Basically, the side of Radiance, once again, they want to snowball the mid lane. The problem with their composition, in my opinion, though, is that they do not have the same late game scaling, and they rely heavily on that early to mid game snowball. Whereas the side of Supernova, they have an Aphelios to fall, and they have a Syndra to fall, and both of whom scale really well into the late game in terms of their overall damage, especially that Aphelios. And I think Supernova has a more consistent front line. So I feel like if this goes late, Dark Matter will absolutely just block out the sun that is Radiant.
Yeah. So even with Lulu, right? We take a look at their team composition. You have Graves who want team fights to go for a really long time. You have Ezreal and LeBlanc who are poking, and you kind of want Aatrox and Lulu in this really awkward position where they're either finding flanks and Aatrox is able to kind of stall out Supernova from getting in a great position yet again, or they're trying to prevent dives from happening with Aatrox and Lulu when they start to group up, and makes it really difficult to try to punish Aatrox under turret. But Supernova, if they want, like you were saying, they control. They kind of have the keys to the dealership right now. They have Camille and Thresh as well as Sejuani for engage. They have great damage when it, like you were saying, with Syndra and Aphelios. And in the side lane, Aatrox is going to have massive problems, and so is LeBlanc versus a Camille who hopefully is not super far behind.
Yeah, and this is also one of the few situations where I want to point something out. We talked about it before the game, how they need to give Engo a carry. They gave him a carry!
Yeah,
He finally did it!
I'm super happy for this. I'm glad that we get to see it. I mean, the last time that he played the Aatrox was actually against Maryville in week 3 of Big. It didn't look too good as Niles kind of... Come on.
Well, I'm going to stop you there and give you one word as to why it didn't go well. Niles.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he got Niles, right? Like, yeah, it's a pretty fair, but like, I mean, he wasn't doing. I'm still waiting to see where Aatrox kind of falls, because I think that this was kind of a weird pick to kind of see, especially if you're on red side, when you have counter pick and you have Lulu be your counter pick champion. I think that's really weird. And unless we see something from Cal where this Lulu and Andy Bendy combo is out of this world, I have massive question marks yet again for a much more questionable draft.
So with this draft, I do have one note before we do go to break, that at least with the Lulu lane, I guess you're trying to get that counterpick bottom lane so you can be a little bit more safe with it. Remember that this is not the usual bottom lane for the side of Radiance, so they want to get them something safe. like Thresh Callista is super safe. Ezreal Lulu is super safe. But if you get Ango this Aatrox, something like he could feel comfortable playing into almost anything, you have that player who will be consistently confident and consistently reliable, really no matter how well the game goes, unless he just gets camped into absolute oblivion, into the dark hole that is Supernova.
Hey man, they've got the Sejuani, they've got the Camille. I'm pretty sure that is going to be the black hole that's going to make or break this squad. I mean, I don't think Aphelios and Thresh are really going to be too aggressive.
Double prison sentence for Aatrox.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully this time with how many ganks we saw from Zion to Fire Theft, this time I think Camille actually, this is a champion that is allowed to have a lot higher power budget with more money.
Yeah. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're actually going to go to a short spectator delay. We will be right back with Game 2 between Radiance and Supernova Dark Matter as part of the Risen Champions League. We will see you then, ladies and gentlemen.
Take a moment right here, feeling like it's out gear. Driving towards the sun with a rose and a gun. Feel the wind in my hair, going nowhere I swear. Like an outlaw on the run, dangerous but it's so fun. Running, running, no. Hold on, don't let go. Running, running, no. Keep running. Told my boss that I'm done. Had no luck with my mom. Say, what will you do with your life? You know it's hard to survive. A cigar in my mouth. Maybe guilty but proud. Now I'm an outlaw on the run. Dangerous but it's so fun. Running, running, no. Hold on, don't let go. Running, running, no. Keep running.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Once again, it is Hypertension and Alk Battery. We are back. It is Game 2 between Radiance and Supernova Dark Matter. On the blue side, it is Dark Matter. On the red side, it is Radiance. You know who we are. You know who these players are. Let's get at it, as Dark Matter might be prepping something sneaky.
Thankfully, obviously, he's going to get a pretty nice back here. He gets a really nice ward right there. They shouldn't be able to spot it out even if they did have any kind of sweepers. So I think they were expecting for yet again another kind of late invade in the top side. So really a great job from the side of Radiance to kind of scout that out and make sure to play a little bit safe versus Supernova.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, a 5-point defense, and I think when we take a look at where the junglers are, Graves is going to have a pretty fantastic time just kind of sitting and waiting. Zal is going to have a little bit of pressure on him to get off to an early start, make sure that some of these lanes are doing really well. Spider Queen maybe in a little bit of a dangerous position.
Yeah, this is not good for the Aphelios, as that's a lane that will poke you out. Honestly, like, this Aphelios Thresh does have a little bit of trouble because of how oppressive Lulu Ezreal can be.
Yeah, and I think it's actually really dangerous for Xyle to start the red buff here, especially with assistance, as this is a lane where Aphelios and Thresh want to have lane priority as soon as possible. Even take a look at the side of Radiance. Andy Bendy and Cow are already trying to set up for that early lane and make sure that they're kind of prepping their wave, and that's the biggest problem for this Aphelios. He's not going to have space right here to at least set it up early enough, and they're already starting to at least try to get an early push into them.
And that's what you kind of do have to do if you're the side of Radiance. With your composition having such like an early mid power spike, you do need to get these early advantages.
Mm-hmm. You see even a really good trade going to Andy Bendy right there. Aphelios doesn't do massive damage, but it doesn't really matter when you have the FPX Thresh on your side, right? Like St. Daniel, I think, will actually have a lot bigger of an influence because he's no longer one on the Tahm Kench, thank God, no longer Tahm Kench jail. But this is actually a champion that he can play proactive, and not only it, but also punish Cow, which is something that we actually saw towards the end of that game one, where Cow was in a few kind of awkward positions and definitely got caught out, and I think if there's someone on opposite side there to punish, then we have potentially a different game on our hands. But I think with the Thresh, this is perfectly fine, and I think we can actually see a different side to St. Daniel than the Tahm Kench viewing that we got.
Yeah, no longer is he just the third summoner spell.
Yes. It's like Flash and Barrier, but like way worse. And we're even seeing an early invade coming out from Avi. Don't know how much he's gonna be able to get from it. Young Mid's already rotating over.
I think he got everything but the big wolf. Go, as that's going to be some engaging onto Cow. Ignite is dropped, but nothing really comes out of it. But in the mid-side jumble, there's a lot of damage going down. The Deceitful Chains do land onto Fire Theft, but that's really going to be all that we see.
Interesting. It kind of feels like Supernova Dark Matter are in a really awkward position there, because you would think you have Camille, you have this Sejuani going on two different members there, and Spyrax kind of caught in an awkward position where, again, he has to set up, make sure that his orbs are in position so you can get the Scatter of the Week, but Avi just getting a small invade, didn't get too much for it, as now he's able to just go right back into his top side. But, I mean, this is a massive wave stacking here for Fire Theft, and if Ango's not able to clear this in time, I'm expecting for Xyle and him to start to look for a dive potentially.
We'll have to see how it is now. That's going to be the Ethereal Chain landing onto Spyrax. Again, the thing about this lane is it's still safe for the Syndra, but the LeBlanc has the harass advantage, because you're, you have to use your Scout of the Week defensively. You can't really waste it offensively.
And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was the wrong jungler coming up top lane. Fire Theft just barely misses it. Ooh, that hook shot is massive.
Yeah, but that's going to be a big hook shot, but that is also the Target Blade for the first blood.
Ooh, okay. Add me on those Mia pings right there, because that was not looking too hot coming out from the side of Fire Theft, and we're thinking, all right, maybe Ango doesn't end up living right there, but ends up staying. Avi's here to protect the wave.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that we didn't see an end of the line come out there from Avi just to get that like little bit of chip damage and send Fire Theft away. That way there's no dive attempt, because here comes Xyle. Again, they're gonna attempt to dive, but they miss everything. Pull it back under tower. Avi picks up Xyle. What a disaster for the side of Supernova.
Yeah, Fire Theft, yet again another hook shot, which I think would have been the game changer right there, right? We're taking a look. He lands the Arctic Assault. He's just trying to get those permafrost, but Fire Theft not only misses, but then ends up going super wide, ends up behind the turret, not really in range to try to, at least put down some damage to help, not even a command protocol, nothing. And that lane went from bad to worse instantly. Ango now has he has the farm advantage now. He has a massive lead when it comes to levels, and he also is, early on he's able now to pick up a pretty big ninja tab. He's pretty early on, so while it isn't damage, it's preventing now Fire Theft from coming back into this lane for a little bit anyway.
Unfortunately, he was consistently inconsistent, about as accurate as your average Chicago Bears kicker.
Look, I know, speaking of Bears, I know you had to leave Cubby, but come on, man, you leave the Bears out of this. Come on, man.
Why should I?
You're right. You're right. The Bears probably deserve it. I'm not a big baseball person, so. Wait, please tell me that's baseball. Please tell me. Don't.
Oh my god.
Yep. Hyper.
Ladies and gentlemen, I do not know this man.
Dude, sports. Who plays real sports?
The Bears are football.
Also,
I said kicker. I'm sorry, but who kicks in baseball?
Okay, relax, bro. Relax. Look. Come on, man. Sports are not my. I can barely do esports as it is. Come on, man. I can barely do esports. Let's. Real people's. Let me not say real people's sports. It's also hello disrespect. Here we go, Andy Bendy. there's a little bit of a trade, but an early Cloud Drake coming out here. They don't have massive cooldown reductions for their ultimates, so not going to be too impactful. I think we take a look at the souls, and potentially another Ocean Soul here actually becomes a massive problem for Radiance.
My glasses are off and my face is still in my hands.
I can't take my glasses off, man. I've got contacts on. So, I'm sorry to disappoint. You're not the first person to disappoint tonight, so let's... You know, I'm honestly...
Ouch,
I'm collecting
okay.
a list. I'm collecting a list. I'm collecting a list tonight.
Alright, with that depressing note, ladies and gentlemen, we're back to this game. St. Daniel taking a bunch of chip damage. As now, looking at it, as you said though, Ango, he doesn't have that massive CS lead anymore because he did back, he did have to do it, but he's still got a 600 gold lead, which is a fair amount if it starts to, you know, exponentially build. However, you have to capitalize off the fact that your Aatrox is so strong.
For sure. I think yet again we might just see a topside split here. It seems like Xyle, even with no camps up here, just kind of be waiting on some of the cooldown timers here. I think he's probably yet again going to go for a dive. If we take a look at the wave state here, Engo is building a pretty big wave, and if there was a time for Xyle to try and at least get back into this game for Fire Theft, it would be now with this massive wave where Aatrox is looking to try and push. So we even see that Avi kind of setting up as well. I don't think any mid lane are going to come up quite yet, but if they're not able to get this off, this sets Supernova Dark Matter so far behind in their game plan.
Yep, and there we go. That's why we said about the Syndra matchup. It's like just that rejected moment. But when that Mimic comes up, you are under so much kill pressure. The Fire Theft is up here, and goes too, but look at the Sejuani. But also, look at the river. Look at the response from Radiance. They have this snipped out a long way away. So now Xyle actually in no man's land. World Ender was popped, so that's going to be a flash for the World Ender. I say that's a win for the side of Radiance.
Yeah, that's a pretty big win for themselves.
Oh wait, the Dark Blade capture with the tip! Xyle now taking so much damage! That Shotgun Destiny and that massive blade that is Aatrox trying to go in, but end of the line does not manage to hit the big four.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, they knew from the side of Supernova that, hey, Cal just crossed right through that mid lane, right in vision. They know that at least one additional member is coming. You have to assume that Avi's going to come as well. And I think, yet again, Fire Theft and Xyle not quite firing on the same cylinder right there. I mean, we take a look, Fire Theft tries to lock him down with the command protocol. The Hextech sweep does not kind of do enough. And now we even see Avi getting priority for that Rift Herald. The top side is pushing in. Spirax really not in a position to answer, and with that, I'm expecting for Avi go into this top side, crash it, get Engo so far ahead, and at least look for something, because I mean, right now, this is a lane that Fire Theft should be winning, right? We take a look at this Camille Aatrox matchup. This is not only that, but you have massive jungle pressure when you have Sejuani, and both of these are just not firing right now. We have a bot lane gap right now where it's 20 CS down.
About to bring up bot lane,
incredibly strong. Yeah, I mean, Andy's incredibly strong right now. He has Sheen and Pickaxe, so going for super strong first items. On the opposite side, Spider Queen sitting here with double D-Blade, kind of following after Fire Theft's lead here.
Yeah, and I was going to bring up the bottom lane, the fact that, like, even with all of that, all of the resources that you commit to the top side, and even then, your bot lane is now just even further behind. That's a 23 CS lead in the bottom lane. He's got the Sheen. It looks like, I just totally forgot. What does that build into with the Pickaxe and the Sheen?
That is Manamune, and he's going to be building probably Trinity Force.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wait. Why didn't he just build the tier? Okay, whatever.
Because tier is super weak, and if you go for Sheen, like, realistically, you still have the same amount of... You get similar amounts of mana.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah,
you're playing for lane. You're playing for lane.
Yeah, I see that now. Okay. Yeah, no, good. Thank you for that. My brain just fried for a moment.
It's Ezreal, dude. Ezreal's really complicated. Sometimes you have to land the Q, sometimes you don't. Arcane Shift, you know, I always feel when I play Ezreal that you just have to Arcane Shift forward. It's, like, kind of necessary.
Or you can be like Night Blue, just DC after you make the,
Hey, come on, man. True, but... It's fine, it's fine. I mean,
Topical humor.
Topical. 2 hours ago, we got a threat for Night Blue, so it wouldn't be, you know. But... I mean, speaking of junglers not really doing anything.
Yeah, that is going to be the Moonlight Vigil with unfavorable... That... Ugh!
Okay, so he has so many chakrams, but... I mean, realistically...
They're gone. Yeah, they're all gone now, but Avi is not. He's just sitting there, and he's just harassing and pushing them back out of this tower. Again, and for those of you that don't know how Aphelios Ultimate works, it does different effects based on how the Moonlight Vigil works. Say which guns you have when you fire off the Moonlight Vigil. Whichever your primary gun is the one that receives the primary effect. And he had Crescendum, the Chakram, but he did not have the positioning to really capitalize upon the massive amount of Chakrams he had to increase damage.
Yeah, I mean,
definitely would have saved that there for when you got Inferno.
So he has the sniper and he has the turret, which is like you were saying, Crescendum and Calibrum, which actually do a lot of damage between the two of them, especially early on. But
not with the Moonlight.
Yeah,
Vigil.
I mean, also he had no range. They're kind of playing in a really awkward position, and because of that, they not only lose their turret, they lose the Infernal Drake, and Zyle's kind of just sitting in topside. Yeah, not getting too much. I think they were looking for a dive earlier into that lane during your explanation, and they weren't able to get it.
Oh,
nice
no,
change.
that's kill pressure in the mid lane. The unleashed power comes down, but so does the collateral damage. That's Spyrax biting the dust at the hands of Young and Avi.
Yeah, Avi getting the true end of the line there for Spyrax, and potentially for Dark Matter's chances in this game. We're only about 12 minutes in. It is about a 4,000 gold lead, but it is looking really dire, especially for kind of where they're finding their advantages. It kind of, yet again, this is another game where Radiance is kind of leading the pack, and the rest of the team for Fire Theft is just kind of being led on a leash.
That's putting it mildly, honestly. There's so much that is going on, and it just, again, this whole situation just feels so bad if you are Fire Theft and Zyle, just because how poorly those dives were executed and how much it has come to bite them in the end.
Yeah, and you have to take a look at like the mid laners, right? Like this is all kind of falling now, kind of in a series of consequences where the waves are now so powerful for the side of Radiance, where Young is not only finding those kills like we said, but Avi, because top lane has not been punished adequately, considering they even got themselves a Rift Herald. Yeah. I mean, Young can just have a free mid jungler in there.
And here we go. That is going to be St. Daniel and Spider Queen having to run with their tails between their legs because 4 members of Radiance coming down, and I believe that is there's no Rift Herald up, so there's really nothing for them to do at the moment with having that many members there.
I think they're going to try and punish Andy Bendy here. They should know that there's multiple members there. They don't have a lot of vision thanks to how much that they've lost. But it looks like they're just going to try and split the map right now, send your other solo laners into other lanes, get priority in mid lane. But, I mean, you just send Avi mid lane, and now
oh my god, there's damage coming out from both sides. Young mid has to run, so does Spyrax. Any sort of gank up there will result in a death, but it is the side of Radiance who have the closing distance.
Yeah, Cal is up there as well as Avi. They could make their trip up there, but now they're just trying to find this beautiful job from Engo to try to sniff this out, making sure that they have appropriate vision. Not only does he save his life, I'm expecting for this turret to go down, but you see 4 members yet again sitting around that mid lane. Amazing job from the side of Radiance's top laner. Yeah. And they should be able to answer this with a tier 1 mid turret, which is massive when it comes to how they want to kind of rotate some of their members around.
Yeah, if you take that objectively, a tier 1 mid tower is actually worth both, not in terms of like raw gold, but in terms of map pressure, it is worth both outer towers, and you're still getting the pressure on the top tower because Spyrax knows the entire side of Radiance is within closing distance. If he steps up under tower, he will get dove.
And the beautiful thing about this, yet again, all that is potentially Fire Theft could go down, about half health, but looks like they're trying to find something onto Spyrax all across the map. Radiance.
Yeah, it's now Andy Bendy trying to dodge out the cooks, and it looks like that they're just going to pressure down this top lane tower. Overall, if they do manage to get this here in the next few seconds, that will be a 2-for-1 tower trade. Spyrax, though, able to clear that in time.
Yeah, and now they have potentially priority into this. The wonderful thing about this is, for the side of Radiance, because that tier 2 gets taken, if he wants, Engo can create a really unfavorable position where he kind of just freezes this lane and makes it so no one can come down here. I would expect that Fire Theft would be the only willing member to try to come down there and contest for that wave, but because of how far it is, it creates this really uneven position. So thankfully for Supernova Dark Matter, they are actually able to find something and get themselves this Rift Herald. They potentially could look to go into Avi. Your command protocol comes out.
Here we go, but remember that the wild growth is there, so again, that's a very bulky gunman. He does have collateral damage to escape. Again, there's no tools for the side of Supernova Dark Matter on the same page. Like, where was the Glacial Prison? Where was the entire all-in there? The hookshot miss, everything kind of just fell flat there for the side of Dark Matter.
Yeah, they didn't have the damage quite synced up like you were saying. The great part about that for Radiance is, I mean, the phase rush is looking beautiful right about now. That is he's a pretty speedy mobster, so able to kind of duck and weave himself out of the criminal eye there. But Dragon's coming up, and we're missing
He's technically the criminal.
He is the criminal, but you know, you gotta avoid the other criminals, man.
I mean, his title is literally the outlaw.
He's also playing Mafia. I'm expecting, you know, the Sejuani and Camille are the police, right? I mean, Camille hunts down outlaws, right? You let me know on this
no, she's more of like she's a mob enforcer.
Vigilante? Wait, isn't she a vigilante though?
Not quite, no, but Spider
oh,
Queen needs a vigilante to save him from Andy Bendy. That is some strong bully from the bottom laners. As the Dragon once again goes over to Radiance. They have taken every single Dragon this series 7-0 thus far in the 2 games.
Yeah, this is pretty fantastic.
I'm sorry,
obviously,
8-0.
Yeah, 7. No, because they got 4.
No, 8 because Elder.
Oh, true. That is a dragon. But Mountain Drake and Mountain Soul are obviously not the best ones. This is the worst of the 4, at least specifically for the side of Radiance.
Okay,
so
definitely.
getting a little bit of help for Supernova, but they need to scale. I don't know why any of them are looking to fight when you have no complete items, especially for for 3 of your members who have some of the more expensive items in the shop. You're waiting on Infinity Edge. You're waiting for Trinity Force from Fire Theft. I'm so confused as to why this team is fighting, especially for Aphelios when you have this guy on your team. Why are we fighting 2 or 3 items? There's no point, especially when you're playing against Ezreal and LeBlanc, both champions who are incredibly strong on 1 item, and especially Ezreal, who already has Sheen. He's about to finish his Trinity, and he's basically about to start spiking. Why are we looking to contest? Go for other objectives. Try to break top turret because everyone's going to be sitting bot lane. Why are we contesting for mid? It's honestly really confusing.
Yeah, especially when you think about the fact that Engo, he's probably going to back here soon, and then he's going to be able to pick up his Black Cleaver, or really whatever item he wants. Because he's going to have the gold, he's going to be able to just complete whatever he wants from that, and he will just be able to out DPS this Camille, even if she does have the Trinity Force, because she's still down a Stinger. Whereas he just needs like that little bit of extra gold. I want to say he only needs about, he's less than 100 gold off of the Black Cleaver. He's going to back and pick it up now.
Yeah. So I think he's going to sell his pots and just kind of finish it up. And he'll have 30% cooldown reduction, which obviously on Aatrox is... Oh. I thought it was like 1250.
No, it's a 1050 for completion.
Ah, okay, it's 1050. Okay. But like, he has his 30%. He's going to be itemizing next into picking up that Death Stance, and at that point, like, yeah, you have some grievous wounds. Thankfully for Fire Theft, he's finished his Trinity Force, but when does this team start to spike? We have the Infinity Edge coming out from Spider Queen, so we could start to see similar terms of damage, but I don't see why we have to try and fight for objectives so early on into this game for Supernova. Thankfully, with where some of the lanes are, this should at least slow the game down, as there's going to be a lot more picking up side lanes, making sure that we're picking it up, and specifically I think Fire Theft is doing a really great job in picking that up thanks to Young pushing in top side, but it is kind of baffling to me, and I really hope I'll hold that now as Cal.
Yeah, now again, Andy is so it's like, again, if you miss that Glacial Prison, you will not catch the side of Radiance because of how much mobility they have, and that's the flaw. It's like that it's just not on the same page for the side of Supernova Dark Matter.
And for the Supernova Dark Matter, I do want to kind of applaud them for certain. I think the bot lane has actually done a pretty fantastic job all around, at least for this game, with trying to limit the amount of exposure they have to danger and making sure that the Aphelios actually gets to transition. Because a lot of times when we see this Aphelios, teams tend to fight with kind of the thought process of, or at least the feeling that, hey, we're playing with Aphelios, like this champion's insane whenever I play with it. So, I mean, we're at that moment, right? Like, but they're actually playing correctly. Typically, Aphelios tends to be this really nasty coin flip. I'll actually hold that. It's actually going onto Young here. Nice distortion.
Yeah, but again, he does have the Mimic available too. He can't get out. It's still a distortion Mimic. He doesn't have to burn it quite yet, and instead he uses it on a double Ethereal Chain.
And this could actually be a collapse. You see them collapsing up from top side.
Yeah, here we go, the collapse in effect, but again, there's actually
Why?
a pincer coming around from the side of Supernova Dark Matter. It's just Zyle here, he goes down, Andy Bandy is in the baby cage,
Oh,
gets
no.
caught by the death sentence, but he's still alive up until just then. Spyrax now on the flip side, there is no Scat of the Week to defend you, my guy. Young gonna pick up the kill, and this is a wipe here in favor of Radiance. They're taking it 3 for 1, and they're wanting more blood, but again, the blood doesn't want to be spilled.
Yeah, I feel so bad.
But
for the
Daniel, once again, my guy, you stick around and you get put down.
Oh, Saint Daniel. The entirety of the Supernova squad, I think, are getting way too far ahead of us. It kind of feels like their shoelaces are tied together and they're just tripping constantly. They're not really paying attention to, hey, we have to kind of untie our shoes, make sure that we're in a position to actually start running. Because, again, Zyle with an overzealous kind of Arctic Assault right there. He goes way too far forward. He doesn't have the ultimate in a really great position. And Fire Theft, in theory, if Fire Theft is there when Zyle goes in, maybe this fight is a different story, but it just feels like...
Oh,
kind of
Spider
like
Queen,
Spider
it's
Queen.
so mean. They keep bullying him. He's now dreaming again because he's just a dead man. Fire Theft, once again, also he's just a bully. I thought 2020 was the year of stop the bullying. Right now, Radiance didn't get that message. It's gonna finally be a shutdown of Avi, but the damage is already done. Radiance just get another pair of kills.
Yeah, honestly, right now for this Aphelios, for the side of Supernova Dark Matter, it just feeling like Charlotte swept here, man. It's really sad.
Oh,
It's
wow.
just-
Wow,
I mean,
think about it. Feel all
Think
battery.
about it. Think about it, man. We had
with the spider dying
coin,
at the
instant
end?
coin. We have Zyle who's playing the Sejuani, and especially the what is this skin line? What is the skin line that she's using? Why am I blanking on this so hard?
Warring Kingdoms.
Warring Kingdoms, you have Warring Kingdoms, so you have the Piggy, we've got Spider Queen, and
Is Fire Theft gonna...
oh my god, Fire Theft, don't die to minions. Oh my god. Welcome to week 1 of Risen, Risen's Champ League right here. Yeah, it is,
Curb your enthusiasm, ladies and gentlemen, because I think that death might have killed any enthusiasm that the side of Supernova had left. That is just a
dying
massive
minions.
filter. That is...
Oh, Andy Bendy. Okay, what are we doing?
Andy
buddy?
Bendy in a lot of trouble, but there is that... There's the wild growth, but it doesn't really help. Again, now everything's on the same page right after the demoralizing shot. But Saint Daniel takes so much damage. Young goes in to just zone away people. It gets them a kill onto Andy, but he's not the monster he was last game. If you really want to push right here, you have to kill Engo or Avi.
Look, if I'm on the side of Supernova Dark Matter, I'm taking that kill. I'm taking free kills wherever I can. At this point, my top laner has now died to minions, and an execute. Spyrax potentially going down. Spyrax had 100% of KP a few seconds ago.
Oh
goodbye,
no,
Spyrax.
this is actually Young who's gonna win this fight. One more auto attack and he does it. Outright just destroys Spyrax in the 1v1.
Yeah, and again, I'm taking whatever I can get. Even if it's a freebie, even if it's a handout, Andy Bendy going over there is way too aggressive. Great thing for the side of Radiance, that just means that now Moonlight Vigil is down. This is used for one member. Wild Growth on the opposite side is about to come back up, so we still have a little bit of time. Baron is up, and I mean, realistically, for the side of Supernova, there's no position for you to fight. There's no turrets that you can even take because your Silings are in such disarray right here. So I have massive issues here, and like we've been saying, it's only about 6,000 gold. Zyle potentially going in for another steal, but it's completely warded out.
Yeah, and the problem here is like Young can just get on top of Spider Queen whenever he
TP
wants.
coming in.
While you're still going with the Baron. The TP is coming in for the Syndra. If you can do it just right, you can get on top. But there is Young. He is now being locked down into the baby cage, but the damage is so much from the side of Radiance. Young finally bites the dust, but so does it's Fire Theft who bit the dust, as now Avi trying to see if he can zone people out. The Baron has stopped, it has reset. There's really no hope to continue right now if you are Radiance. So overall, success for the side of Supernova Dark Matter. And you're getting a push on the mid lane too.
Exactly, and I think Spider-Kun is actually in a perfect position here. We've actually, he does have his Zeal, so he doesn't quite yet have his Rune-ons, but he's really powerful, and especially with Crescendum and Severum, he's incredibly strong when it came to that team fight, so able to put down a lot of damage. I'm pretty sure he was the one that ends up picking up that kill. No, so it's Fire Axe onto Young, able to get a little bit of revenge, get some shutdown for himself. Avi kind of staying here is really dangerous. Spider Queen is still very, very powerful and has the Moonlight Vigil as well as Flash coming back up. So this could potentially be another fight for them. You need to be, I think if you're saying you need to just back at this point, you need to be able to reset for wards, especially if this Baron is going to be started soon enough. But from the side of Radiance, you can bait this all you want. You have great ways to be able to disengage it.
Yes, you do. It's now there it is. That is going to be the Unleashed Power used on the tankiest member of Radiance. That's your biggest damage to down. And it looks like so is the entire side of Supernova Dark Matter. They are running away with their tails in between their legs. Run, little piggy, run, because LeBlanc is hunting you down. It's going to be Andy Bendy picking up that third kill of the fight, though. And now the turn onto the Baron Nashor is going to be perfect for Radiance.
Yeah, Radiance, they huff, they puff, and they're just going to blow Supernova Dark Matter's house down. It is looking incredibly backbreaking for the side of Supernova Dark Matter. I mean, there's a really massive problem when Aphelios ends up very quickly becoming more frontliner in that fight and steps up into ends up going down. Fire Theft, showing that he's got some life into this game, about 1,000. I don't think they're going to be able to steal this, but I think they might actually be able to try to at least stop them and kill at least some members on the backside here.
Possibly, we'll have to see, because like Andy Bendy does have a lot of damage, and so does Avi.
Oh!
Definitely bit off more than he could chew. Zyle gets cooked into bacon, and now that's every single member of Radiance left alive, able to get out.
Yeah, Fire Thefts ends up getting burned. He reaches a little too far into the cookie jar and gets burnt. So, really hate to see that. I mean, for the side of Radiance, I'm looking for how they close this out. Yes, they've been getting kind of back-to-back team fights where it's a little bit sloppy. We're taking a look at itemization, and Young, it's the curse of the good book. It's the curse of the good book. The Magi's went from almost fully stacked to 0, but I mean, we're coming into really strong spikes here. I mean, Andy Bandy has finished his Blade of the Rune King. He's got his Mirror Mana kind of fully stacked up. He's got his Trinity. Engo has finally finished his 2 items, so will be that massive powerhouse in the side, and I'm waiting and kind of wondering, when does the Supernova team come online? Because, I mean, they fought past where they're weak, and they're just kind of trying to it feels like they're just kind of brute forcing through their early game just to be like, all right, let's just try to race to get to our item spikes.
Yeah, and right now I think it's a little bit late for these item spikes here if you are Supernova. At this point, with the Baron, with the Mountain Soul, Elder is up in 30 seconds, and there's no response possible for the side of Supernova because they're pushed so far back to their base. Their waves are in a terrible position. Right now, Radiance, they don't even need to go for Elder because they can keep pushing the waves, set them up, see if they can knock down a tower, and then retreat for the Elder.
Yeah, that would be the, try to at least milk as much money and as much efficiency as you can out of this Baron. Zyle going a little bit too deep, almost down.
And Andy does manage to avoid anything else. Now the baby cage on top of him.
Oh no.
But look at Zyle. Almost gets caught by that, but there it is. Backside kill. That's going to be Young and Enko, the solo laners, soloing the entire back line of the fight. And that's a clean ace for the side of Radiance.
Yeah, and Zyle, kind of feeling like he is either out of communication with his team or something, because that fight does not look great in any angle. Ends up going in, doesn't immediately just try to Arctic Assault out. It feels really awkward that he's going for these kinds of engage as Radiance are able to try to finish. We were coming into this game, what kind of flavor of Radiance were we going to get? Were we going to get the team that was a little bit inconsistent and tries to play a little bit too far ahead of themselves? Do we see the Radiance that, on paper, this is a great team where you have a top-side focus, you have a mid lane who's consistent, and Andy, Benny, and Cal are this explosive bot lane. And now we're starting to see it. Yes, it is a sub with Cal, but, I mean, the Lulu pick I still think was a massive question. The draft was still massively questionable for Radiance. Giving counter pick for your support, almost never worth it unless your support
worked,
is like
though. That bottom
just
lane
because
was...
it worked, like just because it works doesn't mean it's like
But it was a stomp. It was a stomp in the bottom lane.
Well, that's a feature of playing that Ezreal versus Aphelios matchup, and Thresh not really being in a position to answer the Ezreal, I think, is more kind of impactful for that matchup. I think the most, obviously the biggest part of that was that first 10 minutes topside. That it went absolutely disastrous. Not only did Fire Theft not find the advantage, if they had just gone even in that lane, then we can maybe make an argument that, hey, like they made a few mistakes, but we're still relatively even all throughout the game. They're only about 20 CS down in some of the lanes for the most part, but it was, I mean, that top side went from okay to complete dumpster fire up there. I was really painful to watch, and I know Supernova Dark Matter are going to have a lot of tape to try to watch back, and I'm expecting for Fire Theft and Zal to start cranking out a whole bunch of duo games after that one.
Yeah, and I feel kind of bad about that because like that was just again that was like miscommunication, bad execution, and it isn't like these aren't good players or a good team. It's just this was not their day.
For sure.
They took their shot, they missed, they hit their friend's target, which then spun around over the top of the thing, knocked over all of the other targets on the firing range, and then somehow still just ended up knocking over like a church on the other side of the street.
Yeah, that was like the what is it, the it's on YouTube. It's the where they're playing frisbee and he throws it like completely on the opposite side of the street and it goes over the hill and he's just like, what? Like it just felt so awkward to see Supernova Dark Matter, and this is not what we typically see from this team, right? Like,
Yeah,
this is a team that typically is is not super is not a team that is prone to falling behind, at least in dramatic fashion.
yeah.
And I mean, to be fair, right? Like Fire Theft is a relatively new addition to this team. They did have Gibble sitting up there, and I think
I
that
forgot
obviously,
about that.
yeah, Gibble was their top laner originally, and while they did sub in Fire Theft, I think that this is yet again another team that is going to need a lot more time to kind of settle into their own. Radiance is still a team that I think has some issues, and I think that they were able to, at least they were a more well-established team between
Yeah.
the two of themselves, and they didn't take out a potentially key member, or at least it wasn't focused in this series. I'd be interested to see what the effect of this is when we see Cal and Andy Benny continue to play and into a team where their bot lane is much more of a key factor for the opposite team. I'd be interested to see what that effect is, but Fire Theft is a relatively new addition to this team, and I think it's really weird kind of in the middle of the amateur season to start switching out specifically solo lane players in your team. So I want to see what the effect of this is. Supernova, Dark Matter have a lot to go over, and I think coming into next week, they have a lot on their plate.
Yep. And guys, that's actually before we go, who's your MVP for the series?
Oh, I mean, it has to be Engo, right?
I was actually going to say Engo too. I felt like that Maokai was
Okay.
actually super pivotal.
Maokai, he did an amazing job playing weak side. This is something that we typically see from top laners, where weak side has to be an important factor. And I think he played weak side pretty fantastically, all things considered.
Yeah.
And in this game, yet again, he played powerful. He played a powerful, aggressive top lane where he not only didn't fall behind in the counter matchup, to be fair, not his fault that, or not, not something in his power that the top lane ganks went bad, but I think he played fantastically, all things considered. I mean, we take a look across the field. I think Avi had a pretty great couple of games. Young was yet again another silent killer, something that is a great factor for a lot of teams when you take a look at their mid laners. Is your mid laner this massive, bombastic, explosive kind of guy, or is it this guy who's willing to just slowly start to eke out leads? And Engo, I think, was at least performance-wise, had the most drastic kind of difference in playstyles.
Yeah, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're actually going to take it over to our other channel at Risen 2, where you're going to join our good buddies. I believe it is, let me think, it is Benny Love and Cubby there, those two guys, and we will actually be signing off for the night. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to my co-caster, Alk Battery, for joining me on this show, and thank you, Risen, for letting me sub in for Rafa. Get better soon, buddy. We miss you. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Hypertension. Goodbye and good night. On to Risen 2.
Take a moment right here, feeling like it's out gear, driving towards the sun with a rose and a gun, feel the wind in my hair, going nowhere I swear.